Question of the day. Is a rifle like this, more retro styled carbine length gas system, SOPMOD Block 1 analogous clone, whatever you want to call it, is it effective today in 2024 with all the Gucci, Radian, Geisley, Bravo company, just absolutely moneyed out rifles that we've got going around? The short answer, if you want to click off this video, is yes. I ran this particular rifle, again, which is a carbine length 14.5 pin and welded Bravo company upper with your standard 10-inch quad rail, EOTech 512, broom handle grip, and all the rest of the accessories that you see. I ran this in a 500 round carbine course over this past weekend, and I can tell you firsthand that through this advanced course, I learned my rifle can keep up no problem with any of the big boys, the Gucci, high-end, high-tier snob rifles that you'll find out there. At the end of the day, it's a matter of end user more than anything, but I'm going to go a little bit more into detail about this. So that rifle that you just saw is essentially an offshoot clone of what we call a SOPMOD Block 1. And the SOPMOD program was developed as an accessory program for the standard M4A1 Carbine, for SOCOM and US Special Operations. So essentially, all these different companies made accessories that would retrofit onto the previous iteration of the M4A1 Carbine, meaning a new handguard, laser aiming device, lights, muzzle devices, grips, stocks, optics, so on and so forth. And that essentially took, again, the standard 14.5-inch carbine length gas system, AR-15, M4A1 Carbine, whatever you want to call it, and made it more suitable and more useful for US Special Operations. And now we see big army, normal infantry units, combat engineers, basically everyone in the book using an iteration of that kind of rifle. And slowly and more slowly, we're starting to see that go away. So what are the differences between this rifle and something more Gucci, like a 16-inch Radian or a 14.5-inch URGI or 11.5-inch Bravo company? Well, I can tell you right now that the carbine length gas system on this rifle, meaning that it's shorter than a mid-length, something like a 14.5, 16-inch with a low-profile gas block. This carbine length gas system, which only goes to the end of my 10.5-inch quad rail handguard, is going to prove to have a little bit snappier recoil impulse than something like a 14.5-inch Geisley or what have you. The reason for that is the shorter distance traveled of the gas between the gas tube itself and where the gas is being expended from. You're going to get a little bit more recoil impulse there. I do personally have a Surefire muzzle device on my rifle, and that helps quite a bit. But if I threw that same muzzle device on a low-profile gas block, mid-length gas system, then I'm going to find myself having a much flatter shooting rifle than this one here in particular. Now, another issue that I find with this particular rifle setup is accessorization. So here you can see that I don't have much room for my accessories. My ATPL is mounted on the top, and my Surefire Scout Light is mounted here with my Knight's Armament broom handle right here. It does all fit and it all works, and I'm able to get proper grip on the carbine this way. However, I'm not able to extend my grip as far as I'd like it, thus mitigating my recoil control a little bit and proving just to have less room for different mounting options here on my rifle. But it gets the job done. The accessories are there when I need them. I could have this set up a lot better if I had a longer rail, but unfortunately I can't even get rid of this rail because I have a pin and welded muzzle device. Again, because of the 14.5-inch length of the barrel, I have a pin and welded muzzle device bringing it to 16 inches, and I'm not able to get this front sight post off to either get a low profile gas block or mount something like a Daniel Defense RIS-2 or RIS-3 front sight post rail. So I'm not able to really do anything with this, and I have to keep it as is. But luckily, I like the retro look, and I like how the rifle runs, and I can run it no problem. So again, just to be clear, I ran this for about 500 rounds through a really advanced carbine course last weekend. And a lot of the guys at this course had really high-end rifles, Geisleys, Bravo companies, Radians, so on and so forth. And at the end of the day, the only thing that proved to be a standard between everybody who shot well was the actual skill of the person and not the rifle they were using. Some of the guys who had the slowest times and the worst hits in the course were using higher end rifles. And that's not to say anything bad about those guys and disparaging about those guys, but it just goes to show you that the more expensive or the more modern rifle you have doesn't prove to really change any variable in your shooting if you haven't developed your skill very well. Now, that is to say that somebody with a really high level of skill, for example, like a special operations veteran, an infantry veteran, perhaps a SWAT officer, a really well prepared citizen, somebody with a higher level of skill with a carbine, if you give them that rifle and if you give them a Geisley URGI 14.5, they're probably going to run that 14.5 inch Geisley a lot better because it's more ergonomic, it's more accommodating to the end user, and quite frankly, it's a better rifle, objectively. But at the end of the day, 99% of people who run a carbine are going to be able to run this rifle to the same standard that most people will be able to run something like a high-end Radian or any other Gucci high-tier snob rifle. So if you like the retro look, if you like the Global War on Terror look like I did when I was a kid, when I built this rifle over 10 years ago, and this is the look you want to go for, then by all means do it, because at the end of the day, you're not missing out on anything, not having a high-end 10.5, 11.5, 14.5, 16.5, whatever inch rifle with the newest M-lock handguard and the newest trigger mechanism with the newest optics setup and the newest barrel, whatever. If that's what you like, you can run it really well and you can slay with it. So I hope that helps, and I hope that brings some perspective.